Hello friends, today we are going to see how to do auto scaling and auto healing, how to use these features, how they work, what to do, what not to do, and there are different options when it comes to do auto scaling and auto healing and how to use each of those features. So let's get started and see what do we have here. So there are some things that I already have and I will go through them one by one. So if you come to compute engine, we have an instance template. This instance template is pretty simple. All it says is create N1 standard virtual machine, and not nothing is special here other than the startup script. This startup script, it just, what it does is it goes to the source repo and it clones the repo and it hosts the application. Now this is Python, so I'm using Unicorn and Flask. If it is Java, then you should know how to do this. If it is, .NET or something like that, you should know how to do this. But at the end of the day, what application is it, how to host it, it's purely up to you how to do that. So that is not the part of this lesson. So let's see what else do we have here. Then we have an IAM role. This IAM role has just one permission, is which is to go and grab the repo, clone the repo, and you can see the only permission or the role it has is to go and grab the source control repo. What else do we have? And then we have firewall rules. I haven't really made any changes to the firewall rules, so they are just basic and simple. And for the app, our app is going to be hosted on port 5000. So let's see how the whole thing works. So let's come to compute engine, and because we are going to use auto scaling and auto healing, first we want to see how the auto healing works. So we come to instance templates, we say this is the instance template we are going to use. Then we come to instance groups. This is where we will use the instance template to create the instances. So instance group 1 is good, single zone is good. I'm gonna change the zone to US East 4, and for now I'm just going to delete the auto scaling configuration. That will be a separate section in this lesson to see how it works. So single zone is good, instance template, the one that I just showed, we will use that. Number of instances, 1 is good. This is where we are gonna say health check, right? So if you do not specify any health checks here, it is fine. But what happens is, if you do not specify the health checks, then it is not going to figure out if your application is not working. However, it will bring a new instance up if for some reason that instance goes down. So without health check, you only get one advantage of this, is auto healing advantage of it is it will only bring back the system if the system goes down. That is why you should try to put health check here, and that's what we will do. So if you click on the drop down, it says no health check, only not running instances are created. So for some reason, if your instance shuts down or turns off, then auto healing will bring it back up without having any health checks. With health checks, I can specify saying that even if my system is up, but if my application goes down, turn off that instance where my application has gone down and bring an instance up where my application is gonna be hosted again. So we will just name it my app health check. We will say protocol is HTTP. Our application will be hosted on port 5000. No proxy. Request path is just the root. We don't need to specify response or anything. We don't want to specify any headers. Health check interval, we will say 5. Frequency of every 5 seconds. Wait for 5 second timeout. If there are 2 healthy thresholds, it means my system is good. If there are 3 unhealthy thresholds, it means my system is not good, you know. So we'll just leave everything as is. Maybe we'll change this from 1 and we'll change this one to 2. So what we did is we said if you fire a request every 5 seconds, response comes back as 200, system is healthy. If you fire it twice in a row, and if the response comes back anything other than 200, means my system is not healthy. If it is 500 or something like that, then my system is not healthy. I just changed it for to speed up the process. Say save. 300-second initial delay means for 5 minutes it's gonna wait. Maybe we want to change it from 5 minutes to 2 minutes, and we will leave everything else as is. These options are very simple, and we will go ahead and say create. So what it is doing in the background is it is creating an instance which will host my application. We will query the application to make sure the system is working and it's healthy and everything. And once it is done, we will do 2 things. First, we will shut down that system and see how long it takes for auto healing to bring the system up. So let's see. So now it says I have 1 instance as part of this instance group. I go to virtual machines and I can see this system is up, and I just copy this URL and I come here and I say group port 5000. Now remember we have a startup script. That script is taking a little longer to patch the system, clone the repo from the source repositories, host it, and all that. So it is working. It is doing what it is supposed to do, and hopefully it should be done in about 5 or 10 seconds. Perfect. So my system is up, my application is all good, my application is healthy and everything. So now let's see if we can turn this system off. Now we can't really turn this system off from here because this system is part of the auto scaling group. So what we need to do is we need to SSH into this system, and from there we need to turn this system off. So okay, so it is giving me an error saying this remote host identification has changed. It is because I have been doing a lot of things, and for some reason Google has reused this IP address. So what I need to do is in my known hosts file, I just need to go here and I need to delete the entry which corresponds to this particular IP address. So I come here, this is my known hosts file, I open this up, and all I need to do is copy this external IP, paste it here, and I see this entry here, and I will just delete this entry. And we'll save it. Now we come back again here and we say SSH, and it should work just fine. Perfect. Now you can see the system is working and everything. Now what we are going to do is we are going to shut down this system, and then we will terminate the system. So in order to shut down the system, we will say sudo shutdown -p now, or maybe say -h now. And if we come here and we say refresh, it will shut down the system. And you can see that took about a couple of seconds for it to do that, but it is shutting down the system. The instance is being stopped. Now when my auto healing figures out that the instance is gone, it is gonna bring that instance up. So let's wait for this process to finish. And if we come to instance groups, you can see 0 of 1 instances. So auto instance group says, hey, this instance is not there, so I have to somehow bring this instance back up. And you can see that it figured it out, and it is gonna, it technically it just restarted the machine, right? So because the system was not terminated, it just restarted the system because we shut down the system from the console. Now what we are going to do is we are going to stop the process which is hosting the application. Once we stop the process, it's going to again take a while, about 5-10 seconds, to figure for the system to figure out that it has, the system is off and it is supposed to bring a new system back up. So let's go back, and before we do that, let's refresh this and make sure that it's all working fine. Remember, we have a startup script which is running right now, and that's why this system is taking a little longer than it should have. Actually, my external IP has changed. So what I will do is I will come here and I'll change this external IP, and you can see that it's working perfect. So every time your system shuts down and comes back up, external IP gets changed. Okay, so we know that now, and good for us. Perfect. So let's SSH into our new our system, old system with the new IP address, and let's see what happens. Again, I have the same problem. All right. So now I am into the system. I say ps -ef. Now this is where my application is hosted. So you can see that these two are processes which are created by root, because I have a startup script which runs as root. So I need to just kill these processes. And I say ps -ef, and you can see my processes are gone. I come back here and I refresh this, and it will tell me, oh, can't reach the system because there is nothing hosted on that system server. Now this is where our auto health checks will come into picture. They're gonna run the health check. They're gonna find out like, okay, our system is up but the application is down, so we need to bring the system, we need to bring a new system back up. So if you go here, and it will tell you that health check status is timing out, because of course its system is down, right? So what's gonna happen is in about a few seconds it is gonna bring a new system up. You can see that auto healing has figured out that this system is useless because the app is not running here, and it is terminating the system. So it says the instance is being stopped. Once this instance stops, a new instance will come up, or maybe the same system will just restart. Let's see what happens. Right? That's what we're doing here. Looks like all it did is it just turned the system back up. Nothing more than that. because my external IP is changed. So auto healing, it saw that my system was down, my system was up, but my app was down, and it said I am going to restart the system. Hopefully that will fix the problem, which it did. So you can see that now I just pinged it with my new IP address and I got the response back, and even in here it says 1 of 1 is systems are healthy. And if we refresh this, everything should be green. There should not be anything red. So 100% of the systems are healthy, and my VM instance, my ID, my name of the VM instance remained same throughout the time. All it kept changing was just the external IP. Perfect. So there was part one. This is where we saw how the auto healing works. If you do not specify the auto healing, and if your system goes down, it will come up, but if your app goes down, your system will not come back up. But if you specify the health check, then your system will be rebooted if the health check is not able to pass, or is not able to reach your app. So that is it for auto healing. Next we are gonna see how do we do auto scaling. So let's go through that and see how it works. Okay, so before we get started with the auto scaling, let's clean it up. So we go to instance groups and we select it and we say delete. Takes about a few minutes to terminate the system and everything. So while this is happening, let's go ahead and see how we do the auto scaling. So we say we create a new instance group. Name is to find multiple zones because we want to see how this works, and we'll say US East 4. We will use all the 3 zones, and we will say use the same instance template. Number of instances, because we are using auto scaling, we can't really define it here. System will bring up the number of instances that we specify here, and we will say auto scaling mode is auto scale, don't auto scale, or always scale up. We want to select auto scale. With this option, we kind of stop auto scaling, and with this option which says auto scale only up means systems will always go up, means it will create new systems, but it will never bring the systems down. So that is not a good way of doing it unless that is what you want to do. It is the best thing to do here is to scale up when there is a demand, when there is a surge in traffic, and scale back down to what your baseline usage is. So we will keep this auto scale here. Now how do we want to auto scale? So CPU utilization is one of the most popular metric where people say that if my CPU utilization goes above certain percent, 60% or 75 or 80%, then scale up. When the utilization comes down less than 60% for a specific period of time, scale back down. Usually you want to keep these around 70%, 75%. 60% is good. There are other ways you can scale up. You can say HTTP load balancing utilization. How many load balancing how many how many how much capacity you want to scale up to, based on your auto scaling, based on your load balancing load. Or you can also say state driver monitoring metric. If you select that, you get wide range of options saying which metric you want to use. Time series, metric identifier, there are tons of metrics available here that you can use to auto scale based on the usage time, based on the IO, system IO, read IO, write IO, and total read byte counts. There you can see there are a lot of metrics here. We want to keep this simple and see how it works. So we will keep it to 60% CPU utilization, which means we are saying that if my CPU utilization goes above 60%, scale up. If it goes below 60%, scale down. Initial number of instances, we will keep it 1. Maximum, we will set 2. This is very important because this is where you can really get hurt if you put 10 here, because if you put 10 here, system will scale up to 10. If you put 100, system will scale up to 100, and it can drive cost big time. We do not want to do that. We want to keep costs in check. That's why we will say minimum 1, maximum 2 instances. Again, health check, just like we saw in the previous one. How do we do the health checks? We don't want to do the health checks for these one, and that should be good. And let's go ahead and create that. So instance group 2 is being created. My instance group 1 was gone, even though it gave me an error, but it's gone. Now auto scaling, there is a catch here, that when the system scales up, it's rather fast, but in order for it to scale down, you have to wait for 10 minutes. So what Google documentation says is that before the autoscaler decides to bring the systems down, it waits for 10 minutes to make sure that you're not again gonna surge in the traffic. Your traffic does not surge within those 10 minutes, and it takes that as a baseline, saying okay, for 10 minutes you have been you have not really have so much traffic, and because of that, it's gonna bring the system back down. But if there is a traffic within those 10 minutes after it scales up, it's gonna wait for another 10 minutes to bring the systems back down. So let's see what is happening here. So we have this system here. We have one virtual machine that is running. This is the external IP. We are not gonna SSH into it. All we are gonna do is just query this and make sure that this system is up. Okay, so it's still going on. So let's give it a couple of more seconds, and it should come back up. Let's try it again. All right, system is up, app is hosted, my things are working just fine. Now what we are going to do is we are going to use this tool called AB. It's called Apache benchmark, or Apache bench, whatever you want to call it. And I have that command already configured here, so I will say, and it's pretty easy to use. All we are saying here is run this test, create 1,000 connections, 100 concurrent users, do it for 120 seconds. So for 2 minutes it's gonna keep pounding this server with the requests, and at some point of time our utilization will go above 60%, and when it does, you will see a new system coming up. So let's clear this up and let's run it. This is going to take patience, so because we are not in real-time production environment, we don't really have to speed these things up pretty fast. So what we do is we come here and we start looking at the load, and click on monitoring, and you should see at some point of time it will tell me that my CPU utilization is going up. It takes about a few minutes for it to catch up to show me. Right now it is showing me that I am at about 20-25%, but in reality I'm somewhere around here. It's just taking for a few seconds to catch up. Another important metric you can do is instance groups, and you can see that it figured out that I have more load coming, so it is creating another instance. So you can come here and you can see that I scaled up. It's still scaling up, but it should scale up pretty fast. and what it will do is now I have two instances. Perfect. So if I come here and I can see that I have all these, both these two instances, both are in good shape. I can actually go and take the external IP of these one, and I can say HTTP 5000, and it's still working on running the startup script. So once that startup script done running, you should be able to see the same response that we get here. Yeah, same response here. So let's refresh this and see where our metrics are. Let's see. Okay, perfect. So you can see both my instances are up and running. This is my original instance, this is my auto-scaled instance, and if you look at the CPU utilization, you can see that I was at around 55-51%. You know, it's not always exactly 60%, right? But at some point of time you should see that, you know, my systems, if my load stabilizes, my test is done. Now that my test is done, there is not much going on this system, so this system has freed up, and because this system has freed up, at some point of time it should bring this system back down. So bringing the system down, you should know that it takes about 10 minutes after your load has stabilized and your threshold is below what you specified. So once that happens, it will start working on bringing this system down. You can see size, uh, it should go up in about, once it catches up with the correct metric, it should say we have two instances, because right now we are looking at auto scale size. Utilization, nothing much here. CPU utilization, you can see that we reached it around 51-52%, and we auto scaled it, and you can see that it's catching up. Takes a while for it to show me what happened at around 555, which is about 4 minutes back. So it takes about 5 minutes for it to bring the metrics back. And if I go here, I should be able to see it that at around 555 it should go from 1 to 2. So once it catches up, it will tell me that it had created two instances. Instance count is 2. But right now we have both the instances running here. It's gonna take about 10 minutes for system to catch up, telling me that my load has stabilized and I'm bringing my system back down. So scaler was kicked in, utilization was at 74%, which is more than what we said. Our capacity was at 60%. At some point of time we went to 74%, and it auto scaled. This was our threshold, 60%, and it went to around 74% at some point of time. And if I look at my auto scale size at around 558, it created another instance, and we have two instances which were created at like 558. So at about 608 or 610, you will see that the instance will start coming down because our load has stabilized. So if I go here and I say this is my original instance, so monitoring, and you can see the CPU utilization has come back down. This is how the utilization looked like at around 555, 555 or 556 we were running the test, and it was in the process of creating the new instance. Okay, so about 6 or 7, and you can see that one instance is going down, SC22, which was 177. So this was the instance that came up as part of our auto scaling. Now that our load has stabilized, that instance is going down. Just keep in mind that it takes about 10 minutes. That's, you can't do anything there. That is there by Google. So it takes about 10 minutes for it to decide, like, okay, for 10 minutes the load has been below the threshold, CPU utilization or whatever metric that you specified. It's time to bring the system back up. There seems like, whatever traffic surge you had has gone down. So other than that, there is nothing there for you to wait. Systems will do whatever they need to do, and that is about it. So anything else in here I missed, please let me know, and if not, just keep doing the good work, and happy Google Cloud journey. Thank you very much. Bye.